All right, there we go. All right, here we go. Good evening and welcome everybody to Happily Married, Happily Single. Which one are you? This is episode 3 where we will be talking about dating. So, hello, and welcome. What's up, Dr. Turner?
Greetings, greetings. It is Thursday night. I feel so right. That's what's up. I'm good. Otherwise, it's summertime. Trying to get it happening. You heard me?
So, as we have been going through having conversations about being happily married and or happily single, it has started and garnered a whole lot of conversations. I see already on Instagram. Um, Nola Rolla is saying he's happily married, and then Minnie saying oh my goodness, dating. She's logging off. No, ma'am, you better stay on here because this is the
Mm.
conversation that you need to be in on. And so you and I have been having this conversation consistently about how singles are making dating hard. Like, and to me, it's like, what are y'all doing? Why are you making this so complicated? But it's easy for me to speak from a lens of being married because I don't have to date. But I'd like to get some perspective from your end, and then we're gonna talk about what dating looks like and like what it shouldn't look like.
Dating is different. As you get older, there creates a different impetus or a different sense of urgency for dating. It's
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily to find someone to create with. The
Mm-hmm.
word build comes to mind, right? The word expand comes to mind. If you've been living your life somewhat reasonably right, I'm not a little kid that needs to be guided, and I can cook, I can clean, I can chew gum and walk at the same time. And so dating takes on a little different um, perspective because it's not the same as I said previously. Oftentimes, I think about dating in three phases. Early in life, the pre 25 years is about potential. From about 25 to 20 to about 40 is about presence slash presence,
Yes.
meaning what gifts do you give in my life by being in my life? What are you providing? And then I think the last phase is partnership, where people want to know, what do we do together? How do we raise our kids together? What business do we start together? What do we acquire together? How do we parent together? How do we live together? How do we exist and coexist? And I heard someone, I think I sent it to you, but the sister was saying it's not about being independent, it's about independence. Where if I'm independent, that means I'm doing it all by myself.
Correct.
Whereas independence means I'm with you, and if there's something I want to do, I can do it, but I know I have a partner that will support me, encourage me, and will, if something happens, be there for me. So for me, I believe and I know that I'm at the partnership stage.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I find myself back in the presence and present stage. That can be fun, that can be attractive, but lo and behold, I find that don't last as long, you know.
So, as it relates to dating, first of all, let's define what dating is. Dating means that you are seeing somebody, um, like this part of dating. We're talking about that we're seeing somebody specifically, that you are seeing this person, but we have not gotten married. There has not been an exchange of promise to being married or any of those things. But dating also, when we're talking about dating prior to getting to that stage exclusively, dating means that we're seeing multiple people.
Or we're just not in a committed, monogamous, exclusive relationship that requires me to reveal or say things, right? Which is not about lying. It's about where are we in this phase. I actually think about it the old school way of, like, you had dating, you had courting, then you had a relationship, and then you had marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And dating is very much like you described. We go out, we hang out, we kick it, we engage, we talk, we might actually be intimate, right? Courting is the phase where it's a monogamy point, where you and I have decided that we're trying to see if this is going to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Then the relationship, which is about us. We've decided we want to be together, and we're going to try this out. And so I think the difference between dating and courting for me is more so about um, dating may not have as much intentionality,
Okay. I
whereas
like that.
courting is saying, I'm sorry, courting may not have the
Courting
same
being
intention.
else. Uh-huh.
Where
Yeah.
dating is definitively like, no, it is you and I, and we are here to say we want to know, can we do the next level, which is marriage or a exclusive monogamous, not to be done anyway, but how we decided relationship, right?
Okay, so courting, seeing multiple people, dating. We've had the conversation. We're seeing each other
Uh huh.
exclusively, right? Which
Uh huh.
was it happens at different levels. So we put a poll out there that asked like, how do you know that that this person is the one? And some of the answers that we came up with, some of them were just like kind of flaky, but like realistic, because some people really go by like, this is how I choose my partner. So I want to go through that list and then read off some of the feedback that we got from it, because it was funny to me. I don't know if it was funny to you, but it was definitely funny.
I
From
mean, I'm gonna always find humor in what we do because we're talking about people. Not that we're laughing at people, but when people are able to be honest with you, with us, hopefully,
uh-huh.
then it brings a certain joy to my heart. Not in terms of once again laughing, but yeah, it's nice. And I will say, I think this week's poll actually surprised me a little bit. I felt like people gave us some very in tuned answers. So overall, I was actually pretty impressed. I think folks were kind of where I would expect them to be in terms of responding. Honestly, what do you think overall? Do you think people being telling us the truth or what?
I don't know. I don't know, because the answers, some of the answers to me were like, really? Come on. But anyway, all right. So this poll read, how did you or do you know when it's time to move forward in a relationship defined as a committed and exclusive? So the answer choices were, I just know or knew they are or were the one. The next one was, the sex was the best I ever had. And I was, when I read that, I was like, really, people determine that that's how you gonna choose your person? Like,
Hey,
that's
don't be
wild.
judgmental. Don't be
I'm not
judgmental.
being judgmental. I'm just like,
You sound a little
this is gonna
judgmental.
be my bed partner, but like my life partner, I don't know.
Hey, I
Um,
mean, your measuring stick might be different.
you're right. I did not have anyone else in my life, which I want to talk about that.
I'm so
The,
glad no one picked that.
the time was right. They listened to me. Their words and actions matched. I felt respected. My family, friends, children accepted them. The first time we kissed, we have similar values, beliefs, interests, and then people were able to log in and put the other or whatever other options they would. But I want to talk about some of those choices
Well,
because,
let's
okay,
say this. Let's do this first. So
what you
so
got?
when we ask the question, how did you or do you know when it's time for a relationship? We picked that to talk about dating because inherently, what we also hear is how do we know we found the one,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the poll was to capture both the pre-relationship and kind of post-relationship ideal.
Uh-huh.
Because one of the things that we have to think about with dating is just what the conversation should get to is so how do I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know of people who say stuff like, "Well, I don't date more than one person at a time,"
But why
and
not?
right, male or female, right, man
Right.
or woman. But
Right.
I've thought about that, right, because I was trying not to make that face you made, right, and I was like, wait a minute, why does that happen? I was like, oh yeah, wait, conditioning, history, right,
Yeah. Yeah.
specifically for women, you're told not to, right. Women are told that that's not what you want to do. And I'm like, but why? Who dictates that? I was like, oh yeah, men do. Men
Big ass.
historically tell women, oh, you shouldn't date more than one guy because you're gonna be thought of as what? A little thought,
Well,
right?
yeah.
A little scuttlebutt, right? So,
We talked about that last week though. We talked about that last week, and I think that in our conversation, like, again, the name calling or calling people about telling women specifically like you are a thought or you a hoe and all of those other things, all of those adjectives. uh if we look on average, men have more sex, well, have more partners than women do. However, we get called the names, right? On average, not to say
Yeah.
that, specific
There are
people, but
some men and women who don't have as much sex. Yeah, I get
right.
you. Yeah.
And so talking about or identifying like where the name calling comes from and why is that, right? It is very patriarchal in the conversation, and it that needs to stop. That piece of it needs
And
to like
and it only serves to defend really honestly white male patriarchal society, right?
hmm
Like not that black men don't benefit from it, but when we as black people, African Americans, get to arguing about this, then it doesn't help us, right? There's no black man
right.
who gets to be able to say, "Yeah, you're a thought." I mean, I'll be honest. Like my mom had 3 kids before she met my dad, so my dad could have easily wanted to say, "You have too many kids," right? And then
hmm
sometimes I think about as I date, like if my dad wouldn't have been able to see beyond my 3 brothers, I may not be here. So when I
right.
date and women ask, "Well, how do you feel about dating women with kids?" I'm like, "Well, I don't have a problem with it, because I have to be honest with you. In reality, if we create these spaces where we demean each other, right? Because the flip of that is women who say they don't want to date men with kids.
Well, my issue with women who say that, or people who say that in general, first of all, once you've gotten to a certain point of dating at a certain age, who are you going to meet
Most
who
of them
has
got
not? I mean,
kids.
you right. So I mean, like, unless you're looking for a unicorn, in the room, it's just not likely. Many people have, by the time you reach 35, between 35 and 40,
30,
on average,
30,
many people
30,
have been
30.
married and or have children by that time.
30, 30. By the time
Yeah, I
he's
mean,
30, you're
you
gonna
still
start
can
to hit
you
that.
still have a pool of people like around your 30s that still don't. But definitely
Yeah,
by the
but
time you
but,
get to 35, when you get to
but I'm
35, most
saying,
people who've had adult relationships, they have either been
go ahead,
married or have children or both. Hey sugar, now go play.
go play, baby.
um
So
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 yeah,
you but and I,
I
I don't I only say 30 because once again, I think we have to be honest about things, right? If in my mind I start saying I can't date women with kids, well, where am I gonna find that? That's gonna
mhm.
probably be on a college campus.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Dr. Dina says if you don't find a person with kids or who has been married, you may they may appear
Yep.
suspect. And that's definitely it. Like by the time you're 30, you're expected to have had some sort of adult relationship. And you do have some people who abstain. You have some people who don't engage in sexual behavior. So, again, your pink unicorn that you
Right.
have, but on average, most people have had sex by the time they turn 25.
Yep.
I'm putting it 25 because many of us bolted to that prior too. But by at least 25, many people have had in sexual adult relationship, whether it be committed or not. We've bolted out of that gate, and so in doing so, the chance of that you become a parent, whether a married parent or not, is already it exists already. So
Right.
when people say that they don't want to and I'm saying people, not specifically women or men, when people say that they don't want to date anybody with children, then you limit your dating pool,
Right.
because on average, like I said, by the time you hit like 30 to 35, you've been married and or have children by that time, because that's a part,
Yep.
I mean, just that's just adult relationships.
And look, that's one of the realities of what we see is too often is if we're not honest about what we're experiencing, then we wind up in a space where we're lying ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So if we keep it 100 about what's going on, if we keep it balanced, then all we have to understand is that, quite frankly, I'm looking to meet someone who has similar values. I want to meet somebody who my family, my friends, and my children can accept, right? I want to
Mm-hmm.
meet somebody who their actions and their words match, someone who listens to me. I also want it to be when the time is right. So yeah, so when we think about, right, the answers were to correspond with what are the naturally occurring pathway and points of access that you would have with a person, right? Um, there has to be some point of some evaluative component, right? If you're simply going by the
Uh-huh.
feels, that's good, but at some point in time, it also has to connect with the cognitive piece, right? What are you actually seeking
Right.
in a partner? What do you want to happen as a result of this relationship, right? Are you looking for somebody just to help you pay the bills?
Well, that's bringing us back to the conversation about what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Because many people have not identified what they want. They know that they want to be coupled, and or they know they want to be partnered, but they don't necessarily know what they want. And that brings me back to like, what's your list look like, right? We talked about the list last week. Like,
Uh-huh.
what do you expect your partner to have, and what do you bring to the table? Because quite honestly, people ask oftentimes for things that they're not willing to have, or things that they actually have, which is not fair. Like, if you're not willing to do that portion of the work, then therefore you high key can't ask for that, right? So now that we're getting into the portion of dating, I know for me, I'm a person who needs both space and attention. I
Mm-hmm.
call this attention, right? I want you to acknowledge me. Listen, I am who I am. Like, I want you to acknowledge me if I reach out to you, but I don't necessarily need you under me, right? So
Uh-huh.
for people who are extremely clingy, that is annoying to me. That bothers me, and I really need you to like have your own thing to do, or I'm literally going to either ghost you, or I am going to what do I call it, Irish exit. I'm going to Irish exit on you. It's like, what happened to you? It's like, yeah, you're doing too much. I can't take it. But that's for me.
Yeah.
But for somebody else, they like that constant contact, that constant interaction, that constant involvement. But that should be something that people should be able to identify and be able to say, hey, this is what I need. But that also ties us back around to communication.
So like what you just said made me really think about how um people get mad when you're dating and you're you. Like you
What
be
makes
being like, yo, this is who I am. They be like, what you doing? Like I have a life and I didn't think we needed to talk every day. Or I want to have a consistent communication with you. And when you're not consistent, I ask a question, then I get, or you get well, why you trying to rush it? Well, no, I wasn't rushing. It's like we spoke consistently and we was having communication, and all of a sudden we're not. So I just wanted to make sure like this is okay. Is this okay that we don't talk? I didn't want to engage in something, and then when it changed, I didn't recognize that there was a change or like this was normal, right? So what you said to me was really interesting because it's always about how do we actually set up the circumstance to date so that we don't also bring in baggage from the past,
Yeah.
right?
Uh
So so if you haven't taken time to say, okay, well, what triggered me in my last relationship or situationship or whatever it was to not feel comfortable or to not be aware, then you don't know what your thing is. All too often, people are more so, and I say this a couple of times, is what are you running towards, not what you're running from, right?
Now that now that right there is something. But I'll say this: for everybody who does not experience the dating situation, because like when they're teenage dating, your early 20s dating, you learn all of the things that you don't want. You learn that very like you just like, oh, I don't like this. Oh, this is too much. Oh, I gotta go. But everybody doesn't learn that, because some people don't date. Like, I have some relatives who they were so focused on academics that they're learning how to date now, like in their late 20s, early 30s. So the expectation that everybody across the board has learned how to date is an assumption that should not be applied. But the communication of things is where that's the equalizer, where we start having conversations about, this is what I expect, this is what I like, this is what I prefer, if you have not had those experiences.
Yeah. And so, one of the things we'll get to, I know we're gonna get to the poll results in a second, but the other thing is also what are people conditioned to think about with dating, right? So it turns into maybe my mama didn't tell me to watch out for certain things, or I
Uh-huh.
wasn't made aware that there might be women who might only date a man if he has some money or status, right? And not that they I'm not even judging. Not
That's
that there's
not a
anything wrong with
judgment one
that.
way or another. Yeah.
But if I'm not aware of that, well, if I become successful, if I'm a famous basketball player that loves to go to Dallas, and I so happen to live kind of close to Dallas, and I meet these women, and they make me feel really, really good, and I'm not able to discern that it's because I'm this famous basketball player. I might start thinking I actually got something going on when maybe it's just that I got millions in the bank. Because you can look up basketball player salaries, right? And you can see how much somebody make, and then all you got to do is put a little work, put a little hoodoo on them, and they
Not
might
who.
fall for it,
I can't stand you. So
right?
we really need to frame how people date before we get into these poll results, because like, why are people looking for partners? Because quite honestly, that looks different. That looks very different. So based
Mm-hmm.
on what you have a lack or a need for when you are growing up, it will determine how you search for a partner or who you will entertain as a partner. So
Uh-huh.
I had my experience with my parents. I had both parents. I had my father, I had my mother, and I got both of their perspectives with regard to dating. I also saw what they did with each other, and how they related to each other, which um, gave me some guidelines or some clue as to what my I wanted my relationship setup to look
Uh-huh.
like.
Uh-huh.
There were things that my parents in their relationship that I looked at and I said, "Oh, this would be like, I like the way they do that, right?" But then I also looked
Right.
at some things and went like, not,
Mm-mm, not I.
not me, not me. I'm not gonna be able to deal with that. So as I dated, I wasn't seeking for someone to take care of me because I was already taken care of. I wasn't seeking for somebody to complete me because I never felt incomplete. But I know that that's not everybody's experience. And because I had a relationship with both my parents, I didn't have an unhealthy. Well, I had clinically not an unhealthy relationship with either of my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I didn't date to find somebody who was going to meet the role of my parents that I missed.
And what's key in that, and I'm not going to say it has to be in a two-parent home, but I think what happens is that your parents provided you the space to learn about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things
Mm-hmm.
I often say to persons who are in couples or individuals, it's going to be real hard to be in a relationship if you don't know who you are,
Yes,
right?
indeed.
Like, and knowing who you are is not an endpoint per se, right?
Right.
It's the point that you have to know that you may not need to date someone who has to have a lot of money because you're not necessarily looking for a certain financial status, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
not, and because I'm saying this because sometimes people got to be honest that if you know you don't want to live in a two-bedroom apartment and you want a five-bedroom mansion, you got to be able to say, well, what does that mean if I want to date someone who that's what our life is, right?
Right.
Either you're gonna provide it, either they're gonna provide it, or y'all gonna provide it
Get it
together.
together. Right.
But it ain't gonna
Exactly.
happen by magic, right? So there
Right.
has to be some like transparency about, hey, I'm gonna do this thing. There was a clip that I had one time, and the young lady was saying how she had decided she was no longer gonna date millionaires. I don't know what her profession was, but she was pretty clear that she was used to dating men who had made a lot of money.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me. What she said was, I'm not necessarily dating for love, but what I realize is that I can't date to be a trophy or to be a tool. She said when you date men who have a lot of money, they turn it into a transactional relationship. And what that also means that if you're going to take an allowance, if you're going to do X, Y, and Z, that means you have to be available to them when they want you to, or they'll end it, right? Because that's the other thing, right? If we're in a transaction, say you stay here, this is how much you get, this is what you do, and when I call you, you come, and when I tell you leave, or when I ask you to do something, I don't want to hear no. Well, you have to accept that, and if
Hoo-hee.
and if you don't want to accept that, then you can move on, right? This is a transactional relationship. It's not based upon anything contractual, right, is based upon you doing what I ask and what I want. And once again, what I found is in a different way, women and men can maintain that inverse relationship as well. There are women who I've learned date or will accept what was told to me to be a homosexual, men who date for their place to stay,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
Well,
so what
women
was said
too. We cannot genderize that because I know some people who do that as well. That is not going to be one sided. Yeah. And I want to be clear about that because oftentimes, like I said, we get into this gender war of placing more responsibility on one than the other when it's both people, both genders
well,
that are just
and
as.
I'm not differentiating. I'm just trying to speak to how
Yeah.
it may look a little different, right? And once again, here's the kicker with that, right? Because we talk about dating, but that becomes a point. Sometimes people are dating for different reasons.
Yeah.
So, but here's the kicker: we've historically been more willing to accept that women will be willing to be in a transactional, hierarchical relationship where they are not the powerful party. That's what women have been conditioned to accept. Once again, think about history, right? Women have been told find a man with means, find a man with status, find a man who could provide, find a man who could do this. Also, if you can, find a man to make him fall in love with you and loves you more than you love him, because then you'll be in control.
Uh, and again, that has to do with how you grew up. That's
Uh huh.
definitely again with how you grew up with, like, so the transactional relationships. A lot of people have transactional relationships with their parents. So, like,
Right.
if you do this, then you get that. If you do this, I'll do that. And so that is where that begins, right? And it's not healthy. It's not
Uh
healthy
huh.
at all. And so you don't love me if you don't follow through with doing what it is that I and am asking you or telling you to do. I was a good person. I was a good girl. I was a good boy. So therefore, you should be able to do this. Or I didn't do this extreme behavior. Now, this is the one that bothers me the most. I didn't show you this extreme behavior. So therefore, I should be rewarded. No, you did what you were supposed to do. And therefore, I don't give you a reward for that. You did what you were supposed to do. Knock it off.
Uh huh.
So, like, we
Yes.
I feel like people are not honest with themselves when they are dating. I don't think they're honest with themselves as they matriculate throughout many phases of their lives, because you look at people who are not able to maintain um platonic relationships
Healthy,
with people, and it's
healthy relationships. Period.
yes, yes, they are not able to maintain platonic or healthy relationships across the board, mainly because they don't know how to relate to people. And I think it's dangerous specifically when dating, because there's some different skills and different talents that you use in dating that you don't use in across the span of relationships, where people can be drawn into you. And when we start muddying the waters with those things, it becomes toxic.
Yep. So what's also interesting is like how the whole point about getting to dating is who you were prior to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who you were prior to is going to allow one your partner to understand what your needs are, your wants are, how they fit.
Mm-hmm.
But and this is what's going to be interesting about the poll results, right? As I said, you also have to know yourself. I meet many persons who have been coupled, who want to be coupled, or who are no longer coupled, and they're still trying to figure out who they are, what they want, what their needs are. And unfortunately, that's where problems persist in relationships, which is going to be a future show. What happens in the relationship, right? What happens when you're not married and you're not single no more, right? That's going to be the question. Because here's the issue: when you're in a relationship, you got to perform, baby.
You gotta show
You
up
gotta put up. You gotta
and you
show
gotta
up. You gotta
deliver.
show out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. So here it is. Here it is. Our respondents stated that the top thing that told them it was time to move on was they figured they had similar values and beliefs
Uh-huh.
and interests. I want to applaud all of those who selected this answer, because I would have to say this one goes right to The old adage of opposites attract.
Right. Opposites
That
can
is
attract.
not
Well,
true.
opposites will attract, but will they maintain?
Opposites are passionate in the middle of the night for one night.
Hmm.
Opposites are great across the room because they draw you in. But
Yeah.
opposites oftentimes will repel each other. So the reality is that couples research says this: you need to have about 70 to 80% overlap with your partner, leaving about 20 to 30% difference. And if you think about that, that's not a lot. That's the, well, maybe my partner likes sports more than I do. Maybe my partner likes going out more than I do. Maybe my partner likes church more than I do. Maybe my partner is more willing to get into certain things, and that's just not for me, right? Whatever those one or two things out of 10 may be. But what we're also saying is that out of 100%, you and your partner have about a 70 to 80% similarity, which means you all will like each other and what you all do together. You all will like reading. You all will like traveling. You all will like where you live. You'll like each other,
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not
right?
forget that. Let's not forget that
So the
that
sharing
you
of
should like each other.
you should. So the sharing of similar beliefs, values, and interests also projects that when things come up, I don't have to guess where my partner stands. I don't
Say
have to
more,
wonder,
say more
huh?
about that. Say more
Well,
about that because
so when stuff,
that also lends itself to people thinking that they don't have to communicate because the assumption is their partner knows where they stand.
so I will say, it becomes a very, very strong space when you and your partner have been able to create that type of a connection, right? Where there doesn't have to be as much communication, but that
Hmm.
usually comes with practice and it usually comes with experience.
Okay.
But in the same vein, you should be just as willing from day one to day 1,000 to day 5,000 a day to 10,000 to be able to communicate to your partner, hey, this happened to me today. This is what I did. I just want to let you know, see what you think, and make sure you're okay with it, right? I'm not gonna just go out and buy a new car if I'm in a relationship.
Uh huh.
I may want one, I may have the money, but I just gonna say, hey, babe, look, I'm looking at buying a new car. Just wondering what you're thinking. Do you have any needs? Is there anything going on that I may not need to do this right now? We have anything else popping? Not because my partner is going to tell me, no, you can't do it, can't have it, but I can communicate with my partner because they may say, oh, no, babe, you deserve it. You've been waiting and, it's time for you to get a new car, right? And I was wondering, if do you need anything from me? Do you have enough money? Do you want to buy something outright? Oh,
So you're talking about like partnership in the real sense of partnership, right? And so because I've been married for the length of time that I've been married, I'll say I'll be transparent. Like in the beginning stages of our marriage, we both tried to fit into a mold that was told to us that this is how this should go. Like this is what the woman should do. This is what the man should do. And after trying that for several years, we discovered that it did not work. It did not
mm-hmm,
work for us at all. And after communication and to be completely transparent, if we would have continued the way that we were continuing, we would have imploded. There was going to be no way for us to continue that way. But in communicating needs, and we revisit things over time because things change over time. The ultimate goal is for everybody to be happy. Like it was he and I for a few years, and then once it was he, myself, and the children, then the he and I had to figure out like we still needed to be taken care of. We still needed to
uh-huh,
be considered, but then we also had to take care of these people that we prayed for and worked on getting here.
yep,
Now we're on a different side of that, right? Because we got one, you're ready to fly on out, and then we still have one left, but we have a little more freedom to um to have more of us and more of a space for us, and it's
uh-huh.
ever evolving. You can't set it and forget it. And then you also can't be so prideful that you won't. share when things are difficult, or that you won't say like, hey, with the things that are happening right now, I can't continue like this. I need either your help, or I need some assistance with redirecting or shifting things. And a lot of times in the dating space, where it's completely important for you to say, this makes me uncomfortable when, or I particularly like when you do blank. When you're dating, people don't want to talk.
And that goes back to that conditioning piece, right? And I don't like to always say just family, because that sometimes excuses the fact or forgets the fact that sometimes people could actually have been taught valid and healthy stuff at home, but they get to their friends and in other social environments and adopt different practices, right? Because I know for me, as a happily single individual, sometimes I'll date and I'll meet their family. I'll be like, oh, so you just want to do your own shit. You're not gonna follow the model that was given to you. You just decided you're just gonna do some dumb shit, right? And in
Uh-huh.
the same vein, I've met women who I'm like, oh, okay, how'd you get this way? And then I meet their family like, well, I'm like, yeah, how did you get this way from this, right? So I think that's another key point about those values. And what I would say to our audience and participants, that's why it becomes so important when I work with, I mean, personally for myself, but also in working with couples, is to say, how are you defining what you value, what you believe, and what your interests are, right? If I adopt something that someone else gives me, that might be fine. But if I don't know why or how it works for them or where it comes from, I'm gonna misuse it. I'm gonna mess that up, right? So I can't say that I necessarily want to have, a 5'5", 135 pound, 36, 24, 36 with a BBL body woman, because that might be something somebody else want and desires and it works for them, but it may not work for me.
Not a BBL.
I mean, some people, they get off on the look, right? But and
Well,
once
this is
again,
the problem. Men are dating bodies, and in some cases, women are dating wallets, and that's why they're not getting along.
well, you need to con that shit. You need to con that shit.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
in all actuality, I have I've said this before. I was called the serial dater. And it was like, well, why'd you break up with him? Because he had a whole lot of money. Yeah, he had a whole lot of money, but he had a whole lot of issues. Because that money was compensating for a whole lot of other stuff. I am not interested. Um, and again, for me, I didn't need somebody to change my life. I didn't need anybody to, I didn't need to come up because I was raised having my needs met. Now, my wants, I got most of my wants, but I had everything that I needed. So, again, like the women with the body and the look, yeah, that is going to pull the guy who couldn't get the girl in high school but now has come up on his finances, and he may be the basketball player, but ultimately he's the company owner and the CEO who's definitely drawing garnering some attention. That guy is dating a body right now, but that girl is definitely dating that wallet. Okay, so the lady who said she wasn't dating millionaires anymore, the reason why she wasn't dating millionaires anymore, because that also, when you're dating somebody's wallet, you're dating the drama that comes along with it,
And,
and the
and,
and the converse as well.
but look, I give her this. It may not be drama. It may be that you realize I actually want to be loved, and I'm not being loved. I'm being bought, right? So yeah, all right. So let's get back. Let's back. So the
All
second
right.
highest, the second highest, the
Yeah.
words and actions match. I
Uh huh.
love that we went here, right? Because what that means is people are actually paying attention to the persons that they're dating and may want to be in a relationship with. Wow, what a novel idea! You actually you actually heard them. You actually paid attention to what they were doing. Wow, I just love that. I don't know what you guys say. I could
but
let that sit.
but their words and actions match, but do yours.
Ooh,
Okay,
ooh.
their
I
words
mean,
and actions match, but do yours. And so, um, everybody, you're never going to be 50-50 in a relationship. It just doesn't happen. It does not happen at all.
uh huh.
You, as a partner in a relationship, have to be able, and willing to show up to do your part for the relationship to win. Now, the biggest thing is it worth it to you? Because as you're dating, that's what you're trying to determine. Is it
mm,
worth it for me to
mm,
deal with this?
mm, mm. What I
Is this
think is
person
interesting.
or what it is that they're doing, is it worth it for me to go that extra mile? Is it is not, and not extra mile, is it worth it for me to communicate my needs to them? Is it worth it? Is it worth it to me to be vulnerable, to let you know that what you're doing is, it either makes me happy or is upsetting me? Because that's where I feel like in the dating things go awry. So people see one thing and be like, all right, I'm out.
Well, I
All
mean,
right, I'm out.
but maybe all I need to see is that one thing. Maybe that one thing is my deal breaker.
Is that fair though?
To who? Yeah, it's fair to me.
If you haven't
If you
communicated
do,
it as if that's a thing,
what
because
did
a
you
lot
say
of
about
things.
your Irish what? Your Irish what?
But this is the thing though about an Irish exit. I do that to crowds, right? I don't do the, well. I don't. Well, I did do it to people. I did do
Let
it to
it go.
people.
Let it
How?
go. Let it go.
However, this is what I'm saying. All right. Somebody who, and I've seen, you've seen this before. It was like, I want somebody and I don't care what they do, I don't care what they look like. Oh, this person chews loudly, I don't want to be bothered with them no more.
Okay,
Versus saying,
Okay,
hey,
wait.
you chew
That's
loudly, can
yeah.
you stop doing that? Can you close your mouth, we can just chew? Oh, versus the Homer
But I
Simpson
think
exit.
that goes to some other stuff we've talked about. But when I talk about words and actions matching, and when they don't, what I'm saying is that's when you're dating someone and you find out that they've been lying about having a job.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah. No. Yeah. Matter of fact, I know a situation where a couple was married and
Hey,
uh
I got an
what,
issue going on. I got to take a break.
you got to, okay, cool, cool, cool. All right, y'all. So we're taking well, he's gonna take a brief break, and I want to get some feedback from you all. Like, what are y'all's um deal breakers in relationship? Because I do know a couple that was married that one of the partners found out that one partner was they thought the other partner was uh employed full time, but like after they had been married a couple years, girl, you better get off that camera. um Girls, well, I'm sorry, that one of the partners was actually employed part-time, and it caused like a big stink. So if you could, in the comments, go ahead and share like some of your deal breakers with you. Miscommunication is definitely, or just straight up lying, because I can't call a thing miscommunication when you straight, yes, after they were they had been married about 5 years when they found out that the partner was and it's not what you think it was. It was, she was part-time employed and he was full-time employed. It happened. They were, yes, they were married for 5 years before he discovered it. um so yeah, what are some of you guys' deal breakers? Please share them, type them. Yes, yes, yes. I'm I, no lie. No lie. I'll never disclose who they are, but yes, they were married for 5 years before he discovered that she was okay, inconsistency, that, yeah. All right, lying. Now we all lie about something, especially when we go shopping. Oh, that's been in the closet. Come on, what's the egregious thing that'll cause you to term your relationships? Because it can't just be lying. We all lie. Oh, this old thing. Somebody who lacks drive. Okay, what does that look like? What does that look like, Anthony's? I'm curious to what you got. Okay, smoking cigarettes, lying, smacking at the table, not eating all the chicken off the bone. What? I know you lying. Stealing the flats and leaving the drunk. No, ma'am. That's funny. Are they still married? Yeah, I'm not gonna disclose that, because if I say too much one way or another, it'll identify who they are. But that was it was an interesting thing. When you no longer like the person, that's a reason to end the relationship. I don't know. Not telling about children. Okay. All right. These are some interesting answers that you guys have. I'm curious about more. For me, Deal breakers are, like I said before in the beginning, clinginess is something that will drive me insane. Like, you gotta have your own thing. Something else, abusive, yes, abusive language, but we all have different filters on what abusive language looks like. Because something that may look abusive to one person may not be abusive to another person. So be specific when you're communicating that to your person. Not telling me about your children, say more about that. Who doesn't tell about people's children? Because I mean, you sure can't hide them. Jealousy, say more, because I am definitely a jealous individual. Excessive drinking, yes. Calling me out your name. Listen, if you are calling me out my name, we gonna fight, and you might as well call the police. It's probably gonna be an assault on my side. Insecurities, yeah, but we all have insecurities though. I have mine. And that's even being in a relationship as long as that I've been in. All right, mental abuse, derogatory remarks about your, like critiquing like your body and your face and things like that. Like, that's just mean people. Like, your friendships shouldn't include people that way. Yeah, no. Money, say more. Money. What's an issue about that? Because for me, I've dated people who were well off and or had like high paying jobs, but they were extremely selfish, and and they always led with their money. That, for me, that's problematic. I'm not interested in that. You can't buy me at all. And how relationships can be sold to men and to women. Money is a thing. Like, women are seeking men with money, and men know that, so they lead with their wallet. But you definitely cannot buy me. Like, forget you and your money. Especially if you have a nasty attitude and you're rude, or you thought and bopping out in these streets. I'm not gonna be able to do it at all. So yeah. So back to the poll. I want to go back to like the line out. So we had the words. We have similar beliefs, values, and those things. And the second one was their words and actions met. The next in line was I felt respected. So some of the things that you all are saying, like um, things that are important to you, that you felt respected. People not calling you out of your name, people not using abusive language, like being respected for me was a top priority. That was not low lying for me. Let's see. Someone who has all of these ambitions but don't have a plan. Agreed. But that would kind of be me if you know how many careers I've had. So I need somebody who's patient with me with that. Let's see, being only financially supportive to your children. Yes, financial and finances are not the only place where people, where partners should be valued. And I think some people have that really twisted about people's participation in raising children. While it cannot raise kids, it contributes to raising kids, and it is important. But it does not take the place of a partner and a parent who's participating in rearing children. So definitely I see you. Is that CC 12? Definitely. And let's see. Uh Dina says, do not sleep with my friends, family. I don't do community dick. Um I mean, some people are into that. So, but if that's a deal breaker for you, be sure to express that up front. Because with this sister wives and this polygamy movement, some people like that. Not me, girl. I don't want to sleep with the petri dish. I would not like that. I would not like that, Sam. I am. All right, we good on the other end? We ready to
Yeah,
move?
you have to be
All
a
right.
parent. It's just so much easier when Blair is in a different mood for some reason. But
So
yeah.
you gotta come, you have to bring her by us when you're
No, I'm
doing
talking about, just she wants to be in them. I'm like, no, this is daddy time. So go watch Karma and chill. I had her snacks and stuff ready, but somehow that gets done. So anyway, all right, catch me up. What I missed?
So okay, I asked what the deal breakers. So if you look through the comments over
I
on
see them.
Facebook and then look through the comments over on IG, um,
Yeah,
which took us to the respect piece, which was another that was the third
yeah,
ranking piece.
yeah.
Like using abusive language is a deal breaker. Calling people out their name, deal breaker, and there were some things, people who were
Wait,
lying, somebody
wait.
who was jealous, and people who have insecurities. And I was like, I am jealous. I'm a jealous, like,
Doc- Dr.
and
Dean
I have
understand.
insecurities.
Dr. Dean understand that should be one deal breaker. What is this stealing the flats and even the mess, not eating all the chicken off the bone? Like, wow. Okay, okay. That may be telling. We'll talk about that in therapy. Oh man.
Not therapy.
Yeah, buddy.
So yeah, like, but that last one that said, being only financially supportive to your children, that would be a
Uh-huh.
deal breaker for me.
Yeah,
Definitely be
yeah.
a deal breaker for me because while my dad made more money than my mom, and my mama had 2 degrees plus 30 hours toward a doctoral degree. And
Uh-huh.
even with that, my dad still was an active participant. Like he
Yeah.
washed hair, he blow dried hair after swimming. And that's even with my mother being in the home,
Fully
because
there.
that's
Yeah,
not a
yeah.
woman, yeah, that's not a woman's job. Like your portion of parenthood is like you got to kick in. And even with Kamara and I, that was a conversation that was necessary. Like, what does parenthood or being a parent look like to you? Because I knew that I would need to take off time when we started having children. I
Mm-hmm.
breastfed both of the kids, right? But once I started going to work, you gonna need to get up and bring the baby here because I gotta go to work too. I'm not getting up and doing this walk by myself at night because I'm already food. I'm already the food.
Yeah,
So like, kick
yeah,
in and do
yeah,
your part here.
yeah, yeah. That's key because I like that when I see these responses and when we think about I felt respected, right? That's something that can't happen until that has happened before you get into a relationship, right? Oftentimes it's said that we teach people how to treat us,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you fail to um outline the areas that you want to be treated, right? If you want to be loved a certain way, if you want to be talked to, as I see someone said they don't want to be disrespected, like these, and what's crazy is all of these things have to happen through conversations and communication, right? So if someone does something that disrespects you, you may want to say, hey, I don't know if you know this, but you did this. This is how it made me feel. And then based on their response, you'll know where it really stands. So to your point about when do you know to walk away, sometimes it's walking away after you've told them, hey, this is not okay, and they continue to do it, right? But that's something we see oftentimes in relationships. People want to ignore that, or they think they'll just get over it, right? So when it comes, I felt respected. I thought that was huge. I was a little upset that that may not have been a little bit more endorsed.
Higher.
Yeah, higher
Yeah.
endorsement.
Agreed.
But I also think that sometimes people feel like respect is an automatic thing.
Well, respect looks differently to different people.
Uh huh.
So and just like you're saying about people letting somebody know that like this makes me feel disrespected. For me, I've said it, I've been saying this for a while. I'm gonna give you 3 times
Wow. Okay.
before I mean, like, if it's extreme, then no, you get the once. But I'm giving you 3 times. The first time, I'm making a note of what it is that I don't like.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
Because I have to figure out like how I feel about that. The second
Yeah.
time, I'm going to say, hey, I don't like how that made me feel. Please don't do that.
So why not say that the first time?
Because I don't think, like, a lot of times people do and say things and they're not aware of it. So I don't think it's intentional, because for me, intent makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was just like something that was like in the rush, or like something you said like absent minded, I don't go at people that way. However, the second time, okay, so this is something you do. Hey, I don't like this. Please don't do da 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 da. All right. See that after the third time, the all right now, all right now, all right now. That third time is the all right now. I'm letting you know that I don't like this. I'm letting you know how this makes me feel. And so at this point, now I know that you don't give a shit about me. And if you do it again, I mean, I have permission to do all the
So
things.
this is where our differences lie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you the first time.
Mm-hmm.
If you do something and I don't like it, I ain't about to yell, scream, or holler, but I'm gonna say, hey, yo, that didn't feel good, right? Please don't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Because we're adults, we're old enough, and you should hear me. Now, if you need to ask, like, well, what exactly did not do? I ain't got no problem having that conversation. But
Mm-hmm.
if I tell you, hey, you stepped on my foot, that hurt, I don't expect you to step on my foot anymore unless you say, hey, I'm sorry, it was a mistake. I didn't mean to. And then
Mm-hmm.
if you do it again, you can automatically know, hey, B, I know I stepped on your foot. I apologize. I'm sorry. But I'm just going to say, and look, I get your logic, right? I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand logic. What I'm saying is
Mm-hmm.
for me, and this might be the difference because, see, you might be talking about what's happening in the marriage. I'm talking about what's happening when you're single. When you're married, you have a little more leeway to allow the person to maybe,
In my marriage, that's not a thing because you know, in my
mm,
friendships, I give people the grace because I care about you. I want,
okay,
and I
thank
know
you.
that with my words, I tend to get real sharp, right? So
Okay.
before I go all cuckoo la la, I like to like lead you to that because at the point that I realize that you just don't give a shit about me, when I go off the rails and you're like, oh my God. I was like, yeah, I told you don't do that shit. Stop that.
So I just heard you reference Coco, Cuckoo La La.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that later. Okay, I don't know who the hell that is, but whoever that is, we need to know whether or not that's somebody that when that person comes out. But I like what you said because I think that's also a personality factor, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
something that who
Mm-hmm.
you are allows you to do that because you're comfortable with that. Which I think when we
Yeah.
talk about dating, that's the other part about you need to know what you're comfortable with because somebody else might not say anything and then they might come home, take all their stuff out, bleach the clothes,
Right.
cut the clothes up, and be done. And they don't realize, well, they just been letting this shit fester.
Yes.
And sometimes you got to be honest and say, well, you know what? That really bothers me. And I need to let this person know that.
Right. And so I know a marriage that ended just that way. Somebody left for the weekend, came back home, partner stuff was gone.
Hmm.
So that's an Irish exit for your ass.
All day, all day. So let's see. The last one we'll cover. The next highest rank one was they listened to me.
Mm-hmm.
This saddened me a little bit. Once again, not because it was low per se, but because I really think in relationships it's a hard place to be in if a partner doesn't feel like they're heard. And so I think for me that people even selected this lets me know that we still have some things to teach folks around. If you're going to be in a relationship, you need to listen to your partner.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't, you just can't. Actually, my thing is when you assume you don't make an ass out of me, you make an ass out of yourself. Because
Yeah.
if you don't communicate or listen, then I'm going to realize you don't really care. That it didn't
Yeah.
matter what I said I did because you wanted to do what you want. And so then I get to make whatever decision I want. So um key to that listening is a reality for me is that um I don't believe in testing adults, right? Unless you're a principal and you're running a classroom and it's a school, you don't test people. But I do believe in giving people opportunities to be successful, right? So I don't believe in hiding what I want and what I need in a relationship. I actually believe in being very upfront with persons to see if they're listening. If I tell you what I'm feeling and what I want, and you do something different, I ain't got a debate about what's going on.
So testing adults. Testing is for jobs. Testing is for certifications.
Cool. Uh huh.
Testing is not for relationships. Now, if somebody does something that you don't like, You are grown. Communicate that. Um, and then to say, "Oh, you passed that test." What? Who are you talking to? And are you 5? You
Mm-hmm.
have to communicate what it is that you want and what you don't want. And also, don't be surprised that when you do things that you have been told that I don't like, or doing something that you've been told that makes me uncomfortable, and you are intent on doing it. Listen, when I go from 0 to 1,000, I need you to not have your feelings hurt. Or if your feelings are hurt, you need to know that I don't care, because I have expressed to you, I don't like this, I don't appreciate this, and you've decided to tell me that you don't give a shit. So you don't give a fuck me neither.
Right. Gonna give. Yeah. So
Yeah,
so to me, that listening piece, I actually think the listening piece, especially in a relationship, is usually needs to be higher, right?
yeah.
Because what that means is that when you sit down and you tell your partner something, they actually hear you. And when people hear you, they're more likely to do what? Respect that. They're more likely to share those values, right? Which is why also I think it's interesting that our biggest ones are the ones that I think are very important. So the review for tonight is when you want to be in a relationship, right? Find someone who has similar values, beliefs, and interests.
Mm-hmm.
Find someone whose actions and words match. I like to say what you're gonna do what you say, and if you can't, say that.
Say that. Go back
Say
and
that.
go back to that one. Go back to
Right.
that and say that again.
Respect each other, right?
Uh-huh.
Now once again, if you like to be choked a little bit, or if you got your safe words and all that, that's on you. That's what they respect. But respect each other, right? That leads to listening, because if I say my password, my safe word, then you heard me, and I know you're not gonna have me out here SOL, or just doing down bad. Um, the last ones, which were a tie, um,
Uh-huh.
the time was right, and my family, friends, and children um accepted them. I'm
Uh-huh.
almost
You got me on the safe word. I'm done. I'm done.
hey, I'm
I,
just
I get it. I get it, but
I would
I'm
like to think that the folks who tune in are going to be a wide, diverse group of individuals who may have
I
all
ain't
kind
mad
of
at it. You
interests.
just I wasn't ready.
So,
I ain't mad at it.
those last two, the time is right, and I think those are really important at the end of the day, because actual research shows that the people closest to you who know you best may actually be better at picking a partner for you than you, because they know what your gaps and your needs are. And when someone comes along, you might think you want that wallet, when really what they said, no, 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 you make enough money. You need the person who can ground you and make you have fun and bring life to you, as opposed to just work, or just like being this one, track, one trick person, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then the time is right. You made me understand this when we was discussing this, right? The time is right can be a very broad concept. It could mean that you have done all of the things you need to do for you, and you are ready. You're able to commit. You're able to focus on the right relationship. Or the time is right could mean that you are at a space where the person shows up and you need to not let them go. Right?
Yeah.
This is your person, and if you allow something else to distract you, even another person, then you might lose out. And so that the time is right in the family, friends, and children one. I thought that was so apropos to think about how people don't like to think about being sensitive to time when it comes to relationships, right? Um, Time being both time in, time spent, and how much time it takes. Sometimes people don't realize I'm not rushing, right? In my happily single state, I don't rush. So time may not be a factor for me. But if
Mm-hmm.
time is a factor for someone I'm dating, they should tell me that. They should be willing to tell me, hey, Brian, I need to know in 6 months what we up to.
So for me, that was a thing for me. You got 2 years of my time as a young person. After 2 years, you don't know what to do with me. I know what to do with me, and I'm not mad about it. I'm gonna head out though. Because people who've been with people for 10 years, I'm not gonna be able to do it. I'm sorry. You wait for somebody to come back and wow you, and you're just not gonna waste my time. I think that would look differently if I were dating now. 6 months probably would be my time frame because I'm very sure of who I am. In this space, I know what I like, I know what I don't like, and I'm pretty good about communicating what is right. 2 years at our age is, yes, absolutely, it's too long. But I mean, like when I was in my 20s, that 2 years, I was gonna give you 2 years, right? No problem. I mean, that wasn't 2 years exclusively dating. Let's be clear about that. The first 6 months to a year, I'm just trying to figure you out.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And I'll say this.
as a reformed serial dater, 3 months. If we lasted 3 months, my family was like applauding me, like, "Oh, good job,"
Well,
because
so
I
so
just
here's
wouldn't
what
keep people that long.
but here's where the time thing for me becomes problematic, right?
Hmm.
Are we talking 2 years from the day we meet to marriage? Are we talking 2 years from the day we meet to a relationship? I don't, and I'm not defining for this. That's my point, right? What I'm saying is, you need to know how much time you're willing to spend on whatever it is you're doing. So the age is point 2 years of that age is too long. Well, it depends on what you say too long. See, the other part of this thing is sometimes everybody may not be looking to get married.
True.
So for some people, it might be, look, if I find you and we good, marriage might not be on my agenda. So if you don't tell me you want to get married, I wouldn't know that. So you may have to say, hey, look, I'm not saying this have to happen tomorrow, but I am looking for marriage. I am looking for this end. This is what I'm looking for. And that's why I say time is an important factor, not because you have to say it has to happen just how you want, but I might be very happy having found the person I'm happy with, and we could live together. We could do whatever, whatever. I just may not be pressed for marriage because that's one of the things stats is finding is that in today's day and age, people are not rushing to get married like they used to.
I
People,
don't. I think that people should communicate what your marriage, like what your relationship goals are, because everybody's goal is
mhm.
not marriage. I I don't know that I would get married again, to be quite honest. Because I mean, we've been married almost 20 years, and to have to intermingle with people all over, I don't know that I would do that.
And see, my thing is, since I've not been married, and at this point, I keep coming back to, well, but do I really want to get married? Like, do I? What does that mean for me and how I feel? Like, that's why I can say I'm not. I thought about this. I'm gonna drop something on people. At some point, we're gonna have a conversation about what happens when you're happily married and happily single, but you're not always happy all the time, right? Because that's sometimes reality. It's like I do want a partner. I do think about marriage, and then I wake up from the nightmare, right? And I could imagine for you that as you're happily married, some days you be like, damn, man, you know what? If I was by myself, I assume that, right? Sometimes you could be like, if I was by myself, I wouldn't have to deal with this.
No, and no, I
No.
can't so I've had moments, like, so has married life been every day, 365 days a week, been happy? No. But my marriage doesn't dictate whether or not I'm happy. Now, my marriage has been perfect in a lot of situations, but I've not been happy. So
I like
that is
that.
something, to consider. Marriage doesn't make you, it doesn't alter your emotions, or for me it doesn't alter my emotions, and I never had the idea that that was what I was bargaining for. I was
Hmm.
looking for somebody to share my life's experiences with, but I wasn't looking for somebody to complete me. um
I just want to say that was a great teaser so that people can understand where we're going with this, right?
okay.
So that's why I think that time thing, as we're saying, becomes important because you get to have these conversations. So also the time thing, if you know you're on a time frame, you can't wait till 5 months in to say, I need to know these things about you right now because I want to be in a relationship. Well then okay, well then I may not have thought we was even at that point,
Right.
right? So
Right.
so the time factor becomes important also to allow you and your partner to be open and transparent about what's transpiring. Because if you're holding out and you come to me talking about I really like it, I want to be with you, and I think we need to be in a relationship, right now, I'm like, but man, I ain't even thought about you that way. like, like I might be like, I just thought we was cool. Like I ain't even thought about you beyond just once or twice a week we see each other and we go out to eat and we spend the night with each other. That's it. And if you thinking that, and I might hit you like I'm dating other people still. I ain't cut nothing off yet. How you? I'm not there yet. Like you asking me, I ain't even thought. I might even think I ain't even think you like me like that, right?
Yo, for
So
real.
the time thing becomes important because you cannot set the clock and not tell a person you're baking them. You gotta let them know, bro. You're in the oven, fam. I expect this to be done in about 6 months or whenever, and you need to come out done, like
Oh
for
my
real. So,
god.
yep, that is that is. All right, so look, um, dating. How do you know when you're ready to take that next step? Y'all have told us have similar value, beliefs, and interests. Words and actions match. Respect. They listen, and when the time is right, and family, friends, and children accept them. Right.
Uh-huh.
The other ones, they were important, but everybody didn't rock with them. I just knew, no, they were. That's that kind of first time fall in love, love at first kiss. That's why the first time we kissed, that they kind of play on different things. I like the idea that sex was the best I ever had, but I knew that
That's
was
wild.
why. Why is that so wild?
Because who picks a life partner for that?
Apparently, somebody did.
I mean, listen, you could be the best sex and the worst headache. I don't know. And some people be getting it in to try and save their life or save they living situation. So I mean,
Maybe this person didn't answer because they were saying it was an effective, positive one. Maybe they're saying I made the mistake and allowed sex to be the reason why I took the next step.
okay,
Here's
whatever.
why I'm gonna say this. Look, I'm glad you took the bait. I think some people be lying because I think some people do wind up having some good sex, some great sex, some amazing sex, but ooh, and they done tried to wife somebody, and then they get into it. They're like, wait a minute, this was just about sex. I was wrong.
That part. Now, granted, I can't. I'm not. I would not have married somebody with no whack sex. I'm sorry.
Preach.
I'm not. I would not have. Right. But I did have some interesting encounters, and to marry that person, we'd have been on. Somebody would have been on the next 48. I'm sorry, because all of the other factors that were like people be crazy, and so am I. So ain't gonna be able to do that. Ain't gonna be able to do that. But yeah, like basing the whole relationship based on and that's why we have to do a conversation about sex and how quickly people entangle themselves
I
with that.
gave the four F's. I gave the four F's.
Cause
Faith, family, finances, and fucking. You gotta talk about it.
we really gotta talk about that because
Oh
of
wait,
the way
let me
that
say
sex,
freaking. As my
huh?
students said, they didn't say
Freaking.
F. They said freaking.
Because of the way that sex is presented to women, particularly from society in the black church, we cannot be basing relationships based on sex, and how quickly you have sex with somebody can cloud your judgment. And that's on both sides of the table, but particularly women, we are some of us are
Mhm.
not wired to move that way. Like, okay, thank you. All right, bye-bye.
Yep, don't lie to
Everybody
yourself.
doesn't roll
Don't lie
like
to
that.
yourself. Don't lie to yourself. All right. Well, oh, my phone died. I'm sorry, you losing me on that. Shucks. Did
Oh,
not charge the celly. But it's time
okay.
to go.
It's
So
time to go. Yeah, we over time.
yeah.
Well, guys, thank you for joining us for this episode of Happily Married, Happily Single. Which one are you? Episode 3, dating. I'm not sure. We might get into the sex conversation and about how that moves, but
Of
we're gonna talk.
course.
We're gonna talk more about like framing the types of relationships that you want to be in, and the types of relationships that you want to that you want, like what type of relationship do you want to be in, like what kind of framework of a relationship that you want to be in throughout this
How do you get the
conversation.
how do you get the relationship you want?
Yeah, yeah. And
And
how do
how do
you
you
use
get
the
out of the
language?
relationship? Oh, go ahead.
You
I was gonna say, and
disgusting.
how do you get
You
out of a relationship you don't
disgusting.
want to be in?
You are disgusting. Everybody don't want to get into that, get out of their relationships. Anyway, y'all, thank you for tuning in with us on this Thursday. We'll be back next
Nope,
Thursday.
nope, nope. I'll be in Dallas. I
You're
won't
out
be
of town next
available.
Thursday. Okay, so we'll
Yeah.
skip next
Yep.
Thursday, and then we'll be back on the following Thursday. Thank you all so much for joining us. These are really important and interesting conversations, but I'm glad that you all have invested the time to listen and to contribute. We look forward to seeing you here, not next Thursday, but the following Thursday. And make sure you share this thing. It's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, it's on Instagram. Tell a friend to tell a friend, because we're going to be doing this and we're going to talk this out until we figure out a way to get us connected and not
Yeah.
disjointed. Because guess what? Black men want to be with black women and black women want to be with black men. So let's figure this thing out. All right, y'all. Thank you for
All
joining
right.
us, and we will see y'all on episode 4. Have a great evening.
Peace. Y'all be good to each other.